So evidently my Elgato decided that recording the audio for the first half of this video would be not a good idea. So I'm going to have to post-com. Basically, I spent about 8 minutes on the trade deadline screen and just going through the different screens that there are. And we made one trade at the trade deadline, and that was acquiring Henrik Zetterberg from the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for Mark Letestu, whose spot Zetterberg was going to be taking anyway, as well as 3 draft picks, a second rounder, and 2 thirds. I thought this was it wasn't quite enough, but we tried it, and Detroit took it. So Henrik Zetterberg will be taking over as our third-line center, and he's also going to be on the power play. So that's basically the big move that we made going into the trade deadline, and I think it really solidifies us as a top team in the NHL, as if we probably were going to finish as one already, but this really solidifies us as one and a big threat with that depth scoring from Henrik Zetterberg. And also, he's a free agent after the season, so if we don't find the cap space to re-sign him as our third-line center, or we probably won't anyway because of Alexander Wenberg coming up, but if we don't want to re-sign him, we don't have to, and we don't have to worry about his contract. So anyway, that's going to do it for the trade deadline. I'm going to pick it up right where the commentary picks up. So enjoy this episode of the Columbus Blue Jackets BAGM. It looks like the only 2 big pieces to move at the deadline are going to be Zetterberg and Rick Nash. I would have went after Rick Nash if I knew he was on the block. Been a good scoring wing for second or third line. Probably a third. I don't know what his contract looks like. But let's turn off, or let's turn on goalie rotation until Forsberg comes back at least. Maybe even after. We'll probably just leave it on. It's probably going to auto-save too, I think. I'm not sure, but I think it will auto-save. Yeah. I don't like waiting through all this shit. Okay, there we go. Alright, so let's just sim a little bit, and hopefully this is the shot in the arm that the team kind of needs, because we've been playing really poorly lately. We're on a little bit of a losing streak, if you haven't noticed. But Florida's doing pretty good this season. They're probably right up our ass. Actually, they're ahead of us in terms of playoff spot. 4-7. If we're scoring enough goals to win, I don't care. But actually, we're only 2 points up, but we're good. We're in a playoff spot, but we're only 2 points up on Pittsburgh for the division crown, and I'd like to have home ice not throughout the playoffs, but well, actually I guess we would have it until the conference finals anyway, so if we get that far. This is the way the playoffs work now is really weird. There'll be a definite crossover this season though, like a crossover team. We need to get back on the right track, though. We need to win games. We need to play good defense, which we're not really doing. Penguins have a lot more wins, but we have more points, and that was a big matchup right there that we lost in regulation. I just don't think Bobrovsky's good enough to get it done. I think, honestly, next year, Forsberg's probably our starting goalie. And actually, this is pretty good. Oh, shit, I don't want to do that. Pretty good trade that we just made now, because we actually have to play Marco Dano at center, it looks like, but we can put Zetterberg on the second line, and we can move a Nisimov up and play like this for a few games. So we'll put Zetterberg in there, and then we'll put Atkinson back on the power play. He's off wing, but that's not important. Zetterberg. Penalty kill will also put Zetterberg on there just because this is a temporary move anyway, so Zetterberg, and then we'll just change it all around when he comes back. Shootout. Zetterberg. We'll just have Broussard replace Zetterberg and fill in the lines after that. But I think that really put their team over the top in terms of scoring, at least. Yeah, there's Detroit. Zetterberg facing his old team, getting a lot of minutes tonight, and we lost. How did we play 2 games at one time? Nick Foligno's out. That's fine. He's only out for maybe 2 games. So it may not even be one. No, he's gonna miss at least one game. No, he's not. Alright, let's do best lines. Foligno. Alright, so Broussard is back. That's fine. Just flip those two. Why is Calvert in? Yeah, why would Atkinson be in over Calvert? That does not make any sense. In the overalls, I guess. And we'll take Skeevier out, and we gotta put in Dano. Okay, that was not where I wanted to put Dano in. Now we're gonna scratch Anderson and put in Atkinson there, and then this spot is where Calvert goes. Power play. We're gonna put Zetterberg on the wing, and we'll take Foligno the hell out of there. Bjorkstrand can stay there. That's fine. Broussard. Yeah, so we got 2 playmakers and then a goal scorer on both power play lines. So that'll really help out. 4-man power play. Let's put Zetterberg and Bjorkstrand together, actually. And then here we'll put Reichel with Johansson. Penalty kill. I don't want any of these guys on. Well, I want Foligno on there. That's about it. Murray up there. Broussard, second line. Anisimov. How good is Zetterberg defensively, actually? He might be good enough for the second line. Penalty kill. Yeah, over Kreider, yeah. I'll put Anisimov. And, how's Zetterberg for faceoffs? 80. I think Broussard's slightly better. No, they're the same. And we'll actually put Zetterberg. Zetterberg's better defensively than Broussard, but we want Anisimov in there because he's got the better defensive. He does have slightly worse face-offs, but I don't really know if that factors into the simulation at all. Johansson, Voracek, Broussard, and Reichel, and then we'll put Zetterberg and Bjorkstrand. An extra attacker is Jack Johnson and Kirby Reichel. Goalies that shootout. Okay. Finally sorted out. And Brett Moran's gonna get time in the minors too. So wow, Zetterberg hurt himself now. Damn. All our centers are freaking injuring themselves. He wasn't even playing major minutes. We bumped him back down. It's crazy. He's only out for a week or so, though, so. And if worse comes to worse with Zetterberg, we won a couple games in a row. Worse comes to worse with Zetterberg, we can always call up Alexander Wenberg, too. Because he is ready for that kind of role that Zetterberg's in as a third-line center, scoring center. Forsberg's going to be back about the same time as Zetterberg, too. I'm imagining after this game, or after the game against Winnipeg. Yeah, New York was really bad. Yeah, Zetterberg's back now. We rattled off a 3-game winning streak, so that's good. Skeevier can be scratched. Skeevier's a lot better depth than the Anderson guy was, though. Was my go-to depth guy in the playoffs. I'm a lot more confident. I was trying to get Justin Abdelkader out of the Red Wings too, but they're apparently, even though I set it to like retain all of their salary, like the Red Wings would retain half salary for both players, it still said something like the NHL believes your organization will be over the maximum cap or some shit like that. He's actually been really bad in time this season. Forsberg's good though, so we'll put him back. And we won't start him this first game against the Penguins, but we will start him, I think, a little bit after that against the Devils, and try and get him back into regular action. Looks like we've actually taken the division back over. Defenseman, or were we looking at forwards? No, we were looking at defenseman, I think, in the dub. We don't have a first, actually, so I don't know why I keep looking. No, they just got a lot of players in general. Defenseman. I want as much information about those defensemen as I can get, because they look like they're all pretty good. Okay, so apparently my recording decided to completely freeze. So I put Forsberg in against the Devils. If that got cut off, it might have. I put Forsberg in against the Devils. He lost. And I got pop-ups all over. I don't even remember what I was saying. Put Forsberg in. I think we took Forsberg out now, or we're gonna take Forsberg out against the Lightning, and we'll give them the Maple Leafs game after that. We're just trying to kind of get a gauge of whether Forsberg is gonna be good to go for the playoffs, or if we need to go with Bobrovsky. I'm thinking we're gonna go with Bobrovsky, but I'm not sure. Performances like that just do not give me any confidence in Bobrovsky at all. So we're actually gonna we'll give Bobrovsky the first game in this back-to-back, so we can get an extended look at Forsberg. We don't have to take him out. Yeah, because then we can start Forsberg the last 4 games of the season, pretty much. Yeah, because there's a day in between those. We're going to look at before we face off against Pittsburgh, we're going to look at our standings too. I don't remember if that game's next or a couple of games from now. Oh, we go. Can't freaking win with Bobrovsky in the net, it seems like. Bobrovsky sucks. Let's check now. Yeah, Forsberg's actually been pretty decent since he came back. He's not going to get the Vezina like he had a chance to earlier on. So we definitely aren't going to win any sort of conference, but we do have a chance to win the division, which will give us advantage throughout, and it would actually face us up against Montreal, because it looks like the playoffs are pretty much set at this point, unless the Islanders go on some spectacular run and Washington blows it down the stretch. But, you know, they scored 2 in the first period, and now it's 5-1. Okay, that was a really important game, and right game actually, and then we'll slow sim the last 2, because we'll have a better idea of the divisional race with just 2 games to go. And I'm not that concerned about it because we're still gonna make the playoffs. It's just clinching the division. We were such a good team, like earlier on in the year, and Justin Braun, yeah, he'll be back by the playoffs. We were such a good team earlier on in the year, but on the day of the matchup against the Penguins, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. 2 points ahead, and I think this is actually their last game of the season, I'm pretty sure. Let me do the math quick. So that's 75. Yeah, this is their last game of the season. So if we can get a point in one of these 2 remaining games, we'll have the division wrapped up. We just need 1 point. We don't even need 2. So we're going to slow sim times 6. Okay, we're going to sim the first period, actually. Oh, Henrik Zetterberg, acquisition coming up big. Okay, Matt Calvert, sporting goal. Actually, I have my TV on, so it might be picking up background noise. Okay, Kunitz scored, but we got back with Bjorkstrand. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, defending Stanley Cup champions, are going to have home ice advantage in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, after they seal the division in the last game of the Pittsburgh Penguins season. We have 1 more game going on that we got to play against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bjorkstrand's actually scored almost 30 goals this season. We're going to slow sim this game, just because I said I was going to slow sim the rest of them, and I didn't do that. Forsberg hasn't really been that great, though, coming down the stretch. We're probably going to start him based on his pedigree of what he did the rest of his body of work in the rest of the season. That doesn't matter to me. His body work in the rest of the season as opposed to Bobrovsky's, who lost his job halfway through the year. We actually made it interesting toward the end, but we lost. It's almost tied up. And they're starting Vazzy. Actually, Forsberg didn't have that awful of a game. Our defense gave up 40 shots. Made 35 saves. I mean, he gave up 5 goals, but it was a lot of shots. So let's officially get our playoff matchup. Then we'll do the stats, and we'll look at the playoff tree, and hopefully Justin Braun comes back before then. A lot of games still remaining, I guess. And they're actually taking on the Florida Panthers, and we're not going to have Who's His Face back in time. So, a little backstory with the Florida Panthers. 2 years ago, the first year of this franchise, within a week of the franchise starting, or the GM starting, excuse me, the GM mode, within a week of simulation, they traded us Jaromir Jagr and someone else for David Clarkson, and I immediately accepted. Second thought about it. So there's a little bit of history between these teams, and I think they finished with actually the same amount of points in the end of the season. So let's see how bad our faltering down the stretch was. We actually finished same amount of points as Florida. Finished top 5 in the league somehow. Arizona was right ahead of us, and Boston was also up there. Goals for per game, we were 7th. Not where I'd quite like to be, but still okay. We were also top 10 in goals against. That was a big difference from last year. If we could have been like a 1/10 of a goal better per game, we probably would have won about 2 or 3 more games, even with our kind of offense. Power play performed very badly down the stretch, it looks like. And our penalty kill fell off, so it was our special teams really that were kind of and our away record was bad, but we also finished poorly. You can't take those stats for too much, though, because you know, we were really good in the middle of the season in like every category, so you obviously are going to fall off in some categories as the season goes on. Just in my experience. Maybe that's what it was picking up before, because I was having I was listening back, I was like, it's kind of picking up background noise from something. But Jakub Voracek finished with 71 points, so did Ryan Johansson. So that's nice for them. Zetterberg had 65, but actually, based on the math I did before, when he was a few points under point per game, he was almost a point per game player with us because of his discrepancies. But that's very nice for him. He had a pretty good season, one of his last seasons. Nick Foligno had 63 points, definitely satisfied with that from him. So we had a lot of goal scorers this year too, not a lot of assist guys. Eric Brassard was almost a 20 goal scorer, 61 points on the second line. He also missed 9 games, so he could have had about 5-6 more points. Bjorkstrand had a solid rookie year, 60 points. I don't think the game considers him a rookie still, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. Kirby Reichel, 22 points, but he's the big playoff guy for us, so hopefully he can break out in the playoffs. Franzen with 36, Murray with 33. Atkinson at 32, Jack Johnson at 31. Their defense really had a down year. Chris Kreider, 28 points. Very disappointing. He's really not panning out the way I expected him to. Marco Dano, 27 points on the 4th line, so that's pretty impressive. He should get a good boost this year. Anisimov, 25 points. Those two are definitely really good together, so we got to keep that in mind. We'll keep them together because they produce. Connaughton, 22 points, pretty good for a third-pairing defenseman. Calvert, 17 points, 11 of which were goals, good depth. Braun, and important. Gunnarsson, 9 points the entire season. These guys didn't really play. We'll look at plus-minus. Foligno, plus 31. Braun, plus 26. Bjorkstrand was actually plus 21. I have no idea how Foligno ended up so good defensively, because Voracek and Johansson are both significantly lower. And the same with Reichel and Brassard on that second line. Brassard was actually only a plus 3. And I say only, it's still good, but and that 4th line was minus, but I kind of expected that with Calvert. Atkinson was a minus 9, that's not a surprise. So it looks like that line, when Wenberg was on that 3rd line, they were really not sound defensively at all. Because Wenberg was a minus 2 and Atkinson was a minus 9 overall, and they played together for a little bit. Goalie-wise, Anton Forsberg finished with 2.55 goals against, and I think year 916 save percentage, 2 shutouts, good for him. And Bobrovsky was still good, just not quite as good. And apparently, again, Bjorkstrand was not a rookie skater, which makes legitimately no sense. But yeah, we'll also take a look at our player stats in the AHL. That was not what I wanted to do, obviously. We'll take a look at our player stats in the AHL, and then I'll let you guys look at the playoff tree, and we'll call it a wrap because this episode's going to run over 25 minutes or so anyway. I think it should. Anyway. I'm hitting my controller. If you hear a noise, that's probably what it is. Okay, so Chase DeLeo actually had 66 points, and I think he was only on the second line, so that's good for him. 65 points for William Karlsson. Spencer Watson scored 24 goals. It was nice. Morin had a really good year in the minors. Maybe he'll jump a little bit. Wenberg was a 40 assist man before he went down. He had post-concussion for the rest of the season. Zach Phillips had a solid year. He could progress, potentially be a third or fourth line player for us next year. Ryan Whitney withering away in the minors. Brandon Ralph, Ben Thomas, Nick Magyar. See, a lot of the guys we signed were actually, or a lot of the guys that performed were actually guys we signed in the offseason. Kylington had a solid second season, 24 points. Menardo, Ponick, Martin. Oh, I thought it was Matt Martin. I was like, when did we get Matt Martin? Tony Rayala had 1 point. And then goalie-wise, yeah, Dan's got another good year, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him as the backup next year. 5 shutouts, 918 save. Okay. Brett Moran had a pretty rough year as a backup. But that's to be expected. He's only 20 years old. He's definitely got a lot of time to improve. So, show you guys playoff tree, and then we will head on out of here. We'll look at the West. Oh, we actually look at it all at the same time. So, Arizona, St. Louis, Edmonton, LA, Colorado, Dallas, Nashville, Chicago in the West. Compared to this year in the real NHL, only 3 of those teams were in the playoffs this year in the NHL. So there's been a lot of turnover in the last couple years in the West. And in the East, there's actually only 3 teams in it that weren't in the playoffs this year in real life. That's Boston, Columbus, and Florida. So it's Ottawa, Montreal, interesting matchup. Tampa Bay, Boston, also a very interesting matchup. Columbus and Florida, not as interesting. And Pittsburgh and Washington, which is a very interesting matchup. So East is full of really good rivalry games, so definitely watch out for that. I'm going to go, so thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.